Hello, everyone, and welcome to Linux for the Rest of Us, episode 201. This is a show about all things Linux, whether it's software, hardware, whatever tickles our Linux fancy. And by our Linux fancy, I mean, of course, myself, Cody Cooper, aka Super Coop, and my good friend, the Linux Maven, DoorToDoorGeek, Stephen McLaughlin. How's it going, Door?
Hey, Cody. All in all, I'm going to say it's pretty good. Busy week. Things are a changing, is what I'll say. My immediate boss, he put in his resignation. Basically, he came from the corporate world, came to government for a good at least 6 years. He decided it's time for him to move on, and then basically a coworker, a supervisor, manager of a section, a couple days later put in his resignation to move on to a better job at another state agency. So
That's hilarious because my direct supervisor did the exact same thing. Right, she put in her notice. She'll be leaving with, I don't know, the next 7 to 10 days, and then a coworker of mine who was also the same position in the company as myself is also moving north in order to take a better position with a different company.
apparently this is the time of year for people to just say bye.
I guess so. Hey, you know what they say, the time is now, Dor.
Apparently it is. I'll say, and I'm not, scared, worried, threatened, whatever. I've been at this place for 20 years, and I'm bound to see lots of changes, and some good, some bad. Bottom line is, I just keep moving forward, keep trying to get things done, trying to make things advance at least a little bit at a time. And the one thing it took me a very long time to realize is I can't make a change if I'm the only person who really knows how to support it, because the institution itself will never go for that. Because what if I leave? Even though I have no plans on leaving, they always need somebody else there who can pick up the ball. I never make decisions based upon people or individual talent. I always try to make decisions based off of job descriptions, if that made any sense.
It does.
Okay, good, because I wasn't sure if it did, because
Cool. Yeah. The one constant in life is change, so we're just gonna have to get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of change, we're in a new centennial as far as the show is concerned. So let's kick it off correct with a really good link to an article sent in by our good friend Tony Bemis from the Sunday Morning Linux Review on an offensive security and countermeasures using Kali Linux talk that he is giving at OLF. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And he's already given the talk once, so this is a kind of a second go around of the talk. And I got to, and then this link will be in the show notes for those of you who want to definitely follow it around. But for those of you who aren't aware, Tony and Mary and the crew over there have been doing that show for at least 4 or 5 years, if not longer. Yeah. Now they're based out of the Michigan, Detroit area. And if I'm not mistaken, and this is a link to either a synopsis or the talk itself that he provided us with. But he spoke to Dora a little bit more about it than he did me.
Well, it really wasn't a lot. I just heard he was doing a talk, and I got giddy. I like hearing people I already have some history with giving a talk, because then I have at least a little bit of a general idea of what to expect. I can tell you this much. Tony is the guy. If you ask him to turn around and pull up his shirt, you'll see nothing but scars from the business. Just, this guy has seen more action than Rambo kind of thing in the field. So when he talks about things, he always seems to talk about stuff with some really deep experience that I don't think a lot of other people really have. So to hear him doing a offensive security talk, I know he's going to be talking about little things that other people will just gloss right over that really do mean a lot in this kind of field. And it also means I'm basically guaranteed to at least see him, Mary, and Tom. Tom is another one of those utterly advanced fellas who really does enjoy what he does, kind of thing. It's very obvious. So I'm looking forward to seeing that crew again, shaking their hands, and I would love it if I could literally help Tony's talk become a blowout with standing room only. I'm literally tempted to like make a sign and walk around like 20 minutes before Tony's talk. Offensive security in room 202. Offensive security. Just because I'd like to see him have a packed room. He deserves it.
Oh, so it's offensive, not offensive.
It's however you decide to pronounce it, Mr. Linguist.
Oh man, well, that takes a whole nother connotation now, and I don't know if I'm interested. I thought he was going to be flipping the bird, you know.
I'm sorry. Would you say I was kind of ignoring you? Oh,
doing all sorts of other things. Oh, and by the way, for those of you keeping score, Door seeing Tony shirtless confirmed.
Confirmed,
as you mentioned earlier.
Exactly.
But no, yeah. I haven't met Tom, but I've met Tony and Mary both. I think at least twice. Yeah, fantastic folks. And Door, you know just as well as I do, all you need to do if you want to contribute more to the standing room onlyness of that talk is you put your fez on. You just start walking around in a circle. You're going to have a second, third, and fourth deep, generation entourage following you, and you just walk right into the room, and all of a sudden it's filled up. So just do that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Tony did send us an email with a YouTube link to Michigan User Group YouTube channel with the talk on it. Then he has the link going to his personal website, Bemis Hosting, and every time I read that, I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce it like horribly wrong. Where he basically talks about the talk in general and gives some links on some of the things that he's going to mention. I'm going to make sure all of that is in the notes. And A, Tony, thank you for letting me know about this ahead of time. B, thank you for submitting for a talk. And C, thank you, OLF, for granting him the talk, because I do believe he's actually put in for this for a talk before, and he just didn't get picked for some reason.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you made it in this time, especially because you've attended several events with me, and these are the ones that I tend to gravitate to the most when because I mean, if you haven't attended a Linux Fest before, you have a huge catalog of talks, and a lot of them overlap. A lot of them, are on separate days. It's just kind of a I don't know how they go about planning these, to be honest with you. I know they do some tracks. Anyhow, I'm almost always, I want to see 2 or 3 that are happening at the same time. I always gravitate toward anything security or encryption based is almost a priority, just because that's a personal interest of mine. So when I was reading the email about this, I knew it was from Tony, and I knew this was something I was interested in. So that made it all the more worthwhile to me. I hope that they upload this shortly after it being recorded, or at least he has a copy of it so I can get to it or watch a video on YouTube or what have you. But yeah, quite a few cool topics. And like I said, this is kind of the second, if not third generation of this talk. So he's tightened it up. He's honed it a little bit more. He already gave it to his local group there in Michigan. So yeah. More power to him. I'm glad he got to get in on this with such good material as well. I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. And again, this is beginning of October, I believe October 7th and 8th, downtown Columbus, Ohio, Greater Columbus Convention Center, technically, but it's actually in the basement of the Hyatt, I believe is the hotel.
Okay. Good deal. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, so it was last night or early this morning. I got a Voxer message from Door that just said better late than never, and it had this link in it. And how long did I send you a request for something like this? It must have been months ago, if not longer than that. the Raspberry Pi picture frame slideshow.
Oh, my brain is completely fried, Cody, because so I quite often need extreme hand holding. So I apologize.
That's okay.
We talked about this. It had to be well over a year ago, where you were talking about wanting to have a easy solution to do a slideshow with a Raspberry Pi and a screen. And we were able to find plenty of people telling you how to do it. And we found plenty of tools that helped make it happen. But what we never found, at least I never found, was a dedicated distribution where basically you could, like a magazine and a gun, using the correct vernacular, not calling it a clip, putting a magazine in a gun and click and go. So there is a company out there that's basically doing a Raspberry Pi slideshow focused operating system.
BinaryEmotions.com.
Well, I'd say that person might need some medication, but if they make a good distro, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, and this is actually really cool because it's just a it's a customized OS where you just plug in a USB key with a image and or video files or text files with remote media links and boot. The system will display a slideshow of them in full screen view, and it just loops through them one by one, and then it comes back to the front and just keeps going. There was something like this that I use, it's like the Raspberry Pi video looper, but I think that even that's on version like 3 or 4 now by who was it, Stephen Hickson. But that was I haven't tried it with image files, but I know I was using that exclusively for video. But this claims to do image, video, and or text files. So this will be neat to play with. This is great if, for instance, I work in a retail setting where I play videos all day just on a loop, and then I have a separate device if I want to play any clips on demand or from a request from one of our customers in order to assist with the sale of a product. So I personally set that up in one of my locations, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, and it's helped dramatically with performance. So I mean, there are tons of different applications for this. In fact, I think the one in the photo here, it's just like a big screen kiosk type of thing that they're using. It looks like hovering up above a food court, so this just displaying advertisements. There's a lot of different applications for this. What I would love to do, if I may, have, even though it's all on Hulu right now, I would love to have one of something like this set up with every episode of Seinfeld just looping in my office at all times, except for when I'm recording a show, because I could watch any episode of that show anytime. And if I just had like a little Seinfeld Raspberry Pi box, just playing episodes all day long, I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, see, I would do the same thing, but I would probably do it with Quantum Leap.
Or, there you go.
Or Star Trek Next Generation, because I
could do Next Generation. Yep.
Yeah, but I gotta say, Seinfeld is one of the very few shows, even if I've seen the episode before, and I'll sit there and watch it again just because it's still funny the second time around.
Mm-hmm.
And so many comedies just have a hard time doing that. I will say one thing I like about this one is you can have things play from local media, remote URLs, or remote list. So you can actually have a file on a USB key, a text file, and in that text file say podnutz.com/images/list.txt. And in that list on that server, you can have a list of images or media files, listed URLs, and it will actually read that list and then play that list of files. So there's a bunch of different ways you can display media, and you can actually intermingle them. So you can have 2 pictures on the thumb drive, but then link to a video as a third option, and then it will basically show the picture, show the next picture, and then show that video.
That's fantastic.
So I really do like the flexibility of this one, and dare I say, the simplicity of this one. You just burn an image, boot it up, and there you go. The options seem very, I don't want to say logical, but almost tangible. Just put files in there or put a text file in there pointing to someplace else.
Yeah, see, I didn't even fully read that option. And the thing is that sounds great if you have network connectivity with the device. Because with the one that I use, we have an in-store Wi-Fi, but it's just garbage. So I wouldn't rely on it for anything streaming whatsoever. And I'd rather not tether that video from my phone all day, even though I have 100% unlimited 4G LTE, but I digress. Although it would be funny to see how high I could get my usage for the month.
It would get high.
Yes, it would.
See, I like that because hypothetically, let's say you're owner of a drinking establishment and you have 3 of these screens up. Well, you can have all of them just pointing to one box in the back.
Yes.
So that whenever you change prices or change menu or change sales, you just change one thing on one computer and it automatically gets fixed on all of the displays. That's the kind of functionality that would actually encourage me to use this type of solution. And this is the kind of solution where if I was in the computer service field, I would be heavily offering digital signage as one of my services, because you can charge top dollar for this kind of functionality, because most people just look at it as smoke and mirrors and voodoo and chicken bones.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was getting to, was that this is perfect. For instance, when I want to alter the files on mine, I need to obviously pull the SD card out of the Pi, put it into a machine, and then swap out the video files and then upload it. Whereas if the Pi had network connectivity where I was using it, then I could just upload the files on a server, and then it's still pointing to that directory, and it's just looping them that way. So that would be very ideal, especially if you're running multiple monitors like that. Yeah, that's a good point.
Very, very good stuff. The one thing I wanted to mention, and it's basically I don't want to say correction, but it's a pivot. How about that one? It's a pivot from
Pivot is the 2016 version. I'm sick of hearing the word pivot, to be honest with you.
Well, then just let me pivot after all. Can I pivot now?
No, because pivot is the corporate is the 2016 corporate speak version of Synergy.
Well, can I synergistically pivot?
You can sashay.
Okay. Oh, I can sashay. Okay. This article,
you can pick and roll.
I can pick and roll. Well, as long as you don't pick your nose. What I'm going to bring here, it's a follow-up to the article we brought last week about the federal government and a certain percentage of code having to be published as open source. And we did hint at how there's going to be certain agencies kicking back, certain agencies fighting it or whatever. Well, here's an article from FCW. I have no idea what that stands for, but it's the Business of Federal Technology, which I think is almost an oxymoron, but let's not go there. If you scroll down to like the 5th or 6th paragraph or something, it's basically states that security agencies, it says, but DoD and other national security agencies are exempt from it. Oh, isn't that nice? I will say I have known a couple people that work at DoD. I do know actually more than a couple who work for security agencies, considering I live right up the street of 295 and the NSA headquarter building. The people I know there who know anything about technology, evolution, future technology, and current technology, current risk, current security models, that kind of thing, they all basically say if the DoD didn't use open technology at all, they would need like 10 times the staff developing everything from scratch. There's no way we can afford to make everything from scratch. So we have to stand on the shoulders of giants. We have to borrow stuff that's already out there in the world and then tweak it to be our own thing. And on this article, it's basically saying that the DoD is going to have to embrace open technology in order to stay ahead of everybody else in the coming years. I will say NSA does release some of its code anyway, not a whole lot of it, but they do release some stuff. The best type of security out there is when the people open up their trench coat, if you will, because then they have nothing to hide. That means the most talented people in the world are trying to rip that code to shreds. The most talented people in the world are trying to find exploits in it, and not just people sitting in the bottom of a building who don't have raw internet access and cannot even bring their cell phones into work because it's a violation of their security policy. So if the DoD thinks it can get away with not using open technologies, I don't think that's a very good future for this country. And allowing them to be completely exempt from this, I think, is wrong. I don't think they should. I don't know if any agency should be mandated to release all of their source code. But I mean, we even have banking institutions contributing to open source code. Citibank themselves are donating code to open source. That's like millions and billions of dollars behind some of that code. So if it's good enough for them, I can't believe how it couldn't be good enough for, everybody else.
Yeah, you would think so, but then again, they get to make the rules to a certain extent. So, yeah, it's but are they still going to be reaping the benefits of implementing the software? Is the question.
I know the people I know that work there are extremely tight-lipped when it comes to any details. Kind of like the people I know who work in certain retail spaces. And it's because they have to be. Period. They have to be. And to be honest, when it comes to any of those people I know, I don't want to know any of that stuff. I really don't want to know any of it because enough people don't like me already. Well, let's not push this even further. So I do think it's inevitable. I do think it's going to be more. I do think it's going to become the standard for a lot of software. We're all, quote unquote, all of our companies are going to have our own private blobs of software that do some kind of finagling in the systems, which is a technical term, by the way. But I think the backbone of most infrastructures are going to have to be open in at least some way.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. It's just going to lead. I mean, ideally, it will lead to more, stable operations. They're not going to be locked into, horrendous service contracts where they're essentially locked into certain software solutions. I mean, and if you look at, I mean, over the past couple, 3 to 5 years, there's been several countries and government organizations that have switched to open source, saving in the millions, if not tens and hundreds of millions of dollars. And you have to then ask yourself, well, then what did they put that money toward? If they were provided with an adequate solution for what they needed, and then they saved this much money, then what else were you able to accomplish with those funds? That really needs to be a consideration as well.
I'm going to guess the money went toward yachts and vacations, but I don't know. Okay, the next one I wanted to just talk about just for a second, and it's kind of related. It's semi-related. It could be related, but I'm just going with that. Line 74 in our notes. And this, to me, is the example of just how far all of this quote-unquote openness is going. If you go to opensource.microsoft.com, this is all of the Microsoft code right now available to download on GitHub. Now, if we were to take all of the open code and each bit weighed a certain amount, and then we take all of their closed proprietary codes and each bit would weigh a certain amount, that same certain amount, I'm sure the proprietary code would outweigh it. I'm not trying to state the volume of what Microsoft is releasing out in the open code, but just the simple fact that they are. And if you go down to the bottom of the page, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 36 on a page, and it looks like that total up to 5 pages long. So let's just say 40 times 5, almost 200 different software projects that they have completely out in the open, that if you want to, you can download, you can tweak on your own and use them as however you see fit. Some of this is actually a little bit bigger code. The example I'm going to use is entity framework. And the reason I'm using that one is because I know for a fact there are more than a couple companies that use this as basically an engine. And all this entity framework is, it's a tool that I know people use in .NET to have more feature-rich connections to databases. And it isn't that they're more feature-rich, it's that the developer gets a richer interface in creating connections, creating queries, creating filters, and creating sort options. And this is heavily used, heavily relied upon, because developers are not database administrators. Developers do not know all the ins and outs of every SQL parameter type. Like, what's the difference between where and having? They just don't understand the consequences. They really don't completely grasp the full power of an OR statement in SQL until something doesn't work and they have to figure it out. This is the kind of thing where, to be quite honest, if you want a job in a company, these are the kind of things that you can right now go download, play with, learn, get experience, and put them on your resume for real, and not have to, once again, that technical term, finagle your resume to sound better than it actually is. You can actually come here and download Microsoft stuff and say, I've worked on these Microsoft things. And if you notice, one of them on there is Bash on Windows.
Yeah.
Yep. I got a Windows 10 computer at work after specifically requesting it. I installed Windows 10 Anniversary Update. Well, here's a perfect example of Windows. Okay, I launch Windows. I launch Windows Update. I click Advanced. I click Upgrade to Anniversary. I click it. It runs. 30 minutes later, it says, unable to finish. Here's your error code. I researched the error code. Nobody has any freaking clue what's going on. They say the solution is to create physical media, then boot from that and do the upgrade. I'm not doing that. So I go back and click try again. And it works for 20 minutes. It works for 20 minutes. It works for 20 minutes. So like an hour later, it comes back and says, failed. Same exact error code. So then for giggles, I know I had a 2-hour meeting. I clicked back, try again. I went to the meeting. I came back and installed the Anniversary Edition. So I did nothing different. And all of a sudden, the OS decides, oh, wait, this time, give this guy a green light. He's tried 3 times. He must really want it.
It is a charm,
It is. And it's not a crazy powerful computer, but it is a quad-core i5 with 8 gigs of RAM. And this is by far the slowest Bash terminal I've ever used in my life. It was painful to use. It was painful. painful to use. It was so slow, but it did have all the features. And right from that command line, you can do an apt-get install. I'm sorry, I don't use apt-get anymore. Sorry, forgive me, Father Pride sinned. Apt install a GUI application, and then right in the command line, type that GUI name, and it pops right up. So you can install Firefox, FileZilla, LibreOffice. I mean, almost anything you can think of in a GUI, you can install it right there, like you're on a genuine Ubuntu OS, because you kind of are.
What is that called again? Sorry.
Bash on Linux.
Oh, no. I meant the alternate app that you were just talking about.
Okay. Apt-get. Okay. Apt-get was supposedly being deprecated now for like 5 years. You were supposed to be using aptitude, I believe. In 1604 version of Ubuntu, they've changed. You can still use apt-get, and it still works just fine. But you can also use apt. So it's just sudo apt install or sudo apt upgrade. You don't have to do the -get, and you get more rich, verbose feedback, if you will. When you click like update, sudo apt update, you actually get a global progress meter at the bottom of the screen. So you have a much better idea how close you actually are to being done. And then when you do sudo apt install, it actually has a progress meter again on the very bottom. So you can see how close it actually is to being done. And there's a little bit of a prettier color things going on with the text. So it's a little bit easier to read and identify what's going on.
I'll have to check that out. I'm just getting ready to blow away one of my current systems and sort of rebuild from the ground up. So, yeah, it'll be a great opportunity for me to give that a whack.
Very cool, very cool. So I'm going to play with it at work. I'm going to try to load some either what's called continuous integration applications and see how much of an enterprise use we could have for them there. And I'm also going to try some configuration management applications like either SaltStack or Puppet to see if I can actually remotely connect to servers, suck down any kind of configuration, and then duplicate that configuration on another server. Because that's one of the things in the Windows world that is incredibly difficult to do. Unless you know like supreme deep knowledge of what you're doing.
Well, that's interesting.
And I have no intimate deep knowledge of any Windows server since maybe Windows NT.
Yeah, me either.
Well, sometimes you just don't want it. Kind of like, sometimes people say you don't want to know how the hot dog's made.
Right.
Because you'll get sick. I really don't want to know how Windows Server works most of the time because it will just make me sick on how bad it is. Okay, the next one to just mention real quick. I don't remember if I mentioned on the show before, Cody. Line 72. And I'm going to say this is pronounced Maru. M-A-R-U. What this basically is, this is that old promise we got, Cody, 6 years ago now, about maybe 5 years ago from Ubuntu. And then we had promised again about 3 years ago from Microsoft of convergence. One device, you plug it up, and depending on the screen size, you have a completely different interface. Well, that's what this is. This is Maru OS. You flash it to compatible phones. I know like the Nexus 5 is one of the compatible phones. And then you boot up your phone. Boom, you have Android. But then when you plug your phone into a bigger screen, like via HML plug, which is just micro USB to HDMI.
I have to correct you there. It's MHL.
What did I say?
I thought you said HML.
I might have very well said yes. MHL, and then there's another technology I believe called Slim Port.
Yes, yeah. It's essentially a micro USB male plug into an HDMI female plug, and it's kind of like Coke and Pepsi when it comes to which one your phone will support. If I remember correctly, most Samsung devices that support video out anyway do MHL. For instance, when I had let's see, my old HTC One M7, I think that one did slim port, and then when I had my Nexus 5, that did slim port as well, and the Nexus 7 2013 tablet, that did slim port as well. But yeah, if you're looking to for this purpose or for any other, use a device in order to do video out from it, make sure that you do the research to figure out which technology, in fact, that you need first before you buy your adapter. The adapters are, less than $20 nowadays, but it could be that much wasted if you buy the wrong one versus the other.
Right. And to be honest, this is the one technology that had me really close to buying a Nexus 5 on spite, is the only way I can put it. Because I really do enjoy my Android device. I really do enjoy using a lot of data. And this would give me the option of going to work, just plugging it up to a big screen monitor at work, pulling out a keyboard and a little hub, and Bluetoothing I have to Bluetooth into the Nexus, and then doing my stuff. So it's Android on the phone. Then when you hook up the MHL, it's basically a full-blown Debian-based desktop, I believe running XFCE.
Wow.
With a full Debian access to do all the Debian goodness kind of things. I mean, really, this is the kind of little thing, I'm going to say, that really does make me giddy about, technology in the future. Because this was my dream as a kid, always to have my quote-unquote computer in my pocket.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I did. Let's see, I was in. Let's see, that was about 2.5 years ago or so. But yeah, when I was mobile and having to interface with our company's web portal for documentation, reviews, and so forth, just general note taking. I didn't have a laptop at the time. I think that was right when my my Acer Chromebook C710 started to kind of go kaput, and that's a whole other story in itself. But the Nexus 5, I had a little Samsung Bluetooth keyboard that had some USB ports on it. So I would make sure I had and took, I think 2, if not 3 AAA batteries. I got some rechargeable AAA batteries that I could use a USB charger to recharge. So I kept 2 or 3 rounds of those on me at all times. But I would have the slim port adapter and HDMI cable, plug it into a monitor at any one of the locations I was visiting, Bluetooth keyboard into that, and then have a wireless mouse plug into one of the USB ports. And I had my own little portable computer, running Android. I was able to get onto Google Docs. I was able to, do everything I could on the phone, but now it was just on, the bigger screen. If I was going to be doing it more frequently, though, I'd probably spring for one of those nice Logitech, the bigger Bluetooth keyboards actually has like the trackpad on it, because that would probably be a better experience with Android.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'll say the real reason I'm bringing this is because August 26th, I got an email, because I did subscribe to their mailing list basically, and it said, "Hey guys, I'm happy to announce that Maru has been fully open source under their project." Before you basically had to join them, be accepted into the beta, and then you could download the OS.
Okay.
So you don't have to basically wait anymore. Now you can just get your Nexus 5, click download, and away you go. You can go ahead and play with this.
Chuck Litchfield, if you're listening out there, I think he still has a Nexus 5 or 2. He's got some. Well, let's just say he has a swarm of Android phones. Oh, okay. I got I gotta digress for this. So when I say swarm, I'm thinking, multiple, like the plural for moose is moose.
Yeah.
I had somebody recently tell me this. Like there's a murder of crows, there's a pride of lions, but what do you call a bunch of bros?
Brothel. I don't know what.
It's a swole of bros.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway,
I'll give that.
if you're in a college town, you see a lot of bros walking around. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but yeah, Chuck is one of the only people I personally know that might still have an Nexus 5. You can go on to Swappa or eBay. I would recommend Swappa over eBay, but maybe you check. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna Swappa that for myself and for the benefit of our listeners here. Let's just say, because that's the one thing. That's the one thing that I really don't like about the Nexus 6, my phone that I've been rocking for almost 2 years now. No video out. Really stinks. Oops. Come on.
Yeah, well, right now on Swappa, there's no Nexus 5 internationals. There is regular Nexus 5s. You can get one right now for $95.
Yeah, see, that's just, oops. Yeah, so less than $100. I mean, realistically, less than $125 shipped.
Yeah,
for a 16 or $150 for like a 32 gig, which you're probably gonna want if you're realistically if you're doing this and potentially installing apps. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there is right now the $95 one is in 32 gig.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, from Fort Wayne, Indiana. We could have Jeff Owens swing by, pick it up, maybe fly out here, hand deliver it. He'd probably do that. He's not busy.
Not at all.
Nah.
I would love to. OLF coming up, can't do nothing. And there's a real quick side tangent, Cody, and this is not Linux related. And if you don't like this, well, then I guess you can go listen to something else.
I really can't because I'm on the show.
Well, I'm talking to the audience.
Okay, fine.
Did you hear that basically Nexus is dead?
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Google announced that there's basically they didn't announce. There's basically a leak that the name Nexus done. We're not having any more of those devices released ever again. They're still going to support them for years or whatever, but there's going to be no more Nexuses.
Even with this new one?
Yeah, it's not going to be called a Nexus.
I'm going to buy a label maker and name it Nexus myself. And I'm like, well, what's that, Google? It says right back here on the back of the phone. See, that I don't care. I care less about the name because honestly, like that's not to sound elitist at all. Okay. But that's a very high brand like name that not most people are going to immediately associate with what it actually is. So in that respect, they can call it whatever they want as long as they're still providing the device with the same functionality. The leaks that have come out from that new Nexus phones built by one of my favorite smartphone manufacturers, HTC. It looks like a great device. It does have a fingerprint reader, which at the beginning I was kind of resistant to, but they're just on everything now. You don't have to use it, but whatever. But I owned several of their devices. In fact, there was aside from when I was a filthy heathen iPhone user, it was my first my first 5 or 6 Android phones were all HTC devices. So I could care less what it's called as long as I'm still getting updates. And actually, this, and I'm kind of dovetailing off of this too. But did you? I can't remember who posted this on Google Plus, but you know who Kim Commando is, obviously, Door.
Unfortunately, I do. Thankfully, I've never listened to her for more than 2 seconds, 3 seconds maybe, and I threw up in my mouth and had to even turn it off.
I've had to suffer through several minutes of it with my father in the car. When I was a teenager in my youth. Anyhow, her organization recently sent out one of those FUD articles about, oh, Chromebooks might be the best sellers, but you got to know this before you buy one, talking about the 5-year window, of support. And I'm like, well, yeah.
No. Who has a functional laptop for more than 5 years?
Right.
The percentage of consumers, what, 2? And
let's just, my argument to that is, okay, let's say that is 100% true. The software that you're running now will be completely different from the software that you'll be wanting to run in 3, if not 5 years anyway. So if you're talking about buying a piece of hardware, whether it be a smartphone or a laptop or a desktop or a tablet or whatever, and you're planning on using it in 5, if not 7, 10 years from now, that's your fault, because you don't understand how this works.
Yeah, and I'll say, if you're still using Windows XP, then heed Kim Commando's words.
If you're still running Windows XP, you're not listening to this show, so it doesn't even matter. But yeah, it's just these. I'm more attuned to clickbait, awful headlines nowadays, to where I'm not even affected by them unless I hear other people talk about them. And then, of course, I start to ask, well, what does that actually mean? Well, did you read the article? Oh, well, no. Okay, well, then shut up. You know what you're talking about. Where was the article? Oh, I don't remember. I saw it on Facebook or whatever, But that comes down to something I spoke about years ago. I don't know if I remembered on this show or whatever, but when it comes to Linux and when it comes to Android and open source software, I think we all kind of go through phases of how we want to communicate the message, communicate our experience of it. And at first, a lot of people are really they feel liberated by using this software, by having these choices and these options, and you want to share it with everybody. But then after a while, you're sort of kind of banging your head against a wall, realizing that by sharing it with everyone, you're sort of disenfranchising yourself, because more than half of them are never going to try it. They're never going to listen, because no matter what you say, they're going to be at Walmart next week and they're going to see a Toshiba laptop on sale for $149. They're just going to grab that with Windows whatever on it, or they're just going to get this smartphone that they bought off some guy off Craigslist, or whatever the excuse is. So don't feel like you need to save everybody. Think of it as the zombie apocalypse, or think of it as your house is on fire. Save what's important to you. Save the worthwhile people in your life, or the worthwhile objects, because I don't preach open source and Linux use as much as I used to in the past. But if I have friends come to me with enough questions or enough bad experiences on other platforms, no matter what the device is, that's when I start to sort of put the cracker out there, or the carrot, so to speak. And there are a ton more options out there now. But yeah, articles like this whole Nexus thing going away, and the Chromebook deal, just it's causing more worry, I think, and more FUD than it's really deserved thinking about. It's not worth the brain cycle.
No. Anybody who thinks I'm going to buy something and have support for life, you obviously don't understand computing devices whatsoever. Everything drops support. Period. And if anyone in your family or your extended friends worry about your Chromebook dropping support, I literally encourage you, stop talking to them. Their low intellect will eventually drag you down. Anyone who overly cares about the Nexus line dying is basically the same thing, because like Cody said, in a way, I don't care what they call it. As long as Google supports or stamps a device and says, this is a standard device, take a look at it, build off of it, build your software off of it, and you're guaranteed some level of compatibility, that's all I care about. I don't care if they call it the turd phone. If it's a nice phone, I still might get it and happily walk around with a device called a turd, just because it can, do these kind of things. And this is the first time, literally, Cody, in 3 years, I want to say, I'm actually entertaining the idea of getting a Nexus device again, because they have a couple features on it, or whatever they call it, the Next device. supposedly one of the things we're going to have on it is basically duplicated partitions.
Yeah.
Which means when you get big updates on your phone, it's going to background going to basically update the second partitions with all those updates. So the next time you reboot your phone, there's no rebuilding process. There's no please wait Google app rebuilding 1 out of 250, 2 out of 250 process.
Hours.
The other thing that they were bringing in was the built-in native Wi-Fi feature. Can't remember what it's called, but basically you walk up to McDonald's, you have your Wi-Fi turned on. You don't even click connect to McDonald's. It automatically connects, but then it creates an encrypted tunnel from your phone straight up to the Google server. So you have secure communications with any of these servers, and you're not using your mobile data. And in some cases, it really should be faster than your mobile data. And this next device is also supposed to have a service where spam numbers are collected on the back end. And then when a known spam caller calls you, it will tell you right next to the number, probable spam call. So you'll know right there whether or not to pick it up. And those three features had me thinking, my next device might be one of these devices, but I don't know now. Well, I don't know now because I never knew. I got to wait to see the device.
So let me, because you brought it up, and the second one was kind of fascinating to me. So you know how a Wi-Fi pineapple works.
Mm-hmm.
So yep. How would that come into play with that auto Wi-Fi deal?
You're screwed.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Which is why I don't like it.
Anywhere you have Wi-Fi turned on, you can be in your own house.
Well, right.
And if your access point is on the other side of the house, and I'm right outside your house wall,
right,
I still got you. There's no way to avoid the pineapple. It's just like ninjas. The one security guy said, if you walk down the street every day fearing ninjas, there's nothing you can do. The ninjas will kill you. But you can't worry about them, because what's the actual likelihood of that happening? Same thing with the pineapple, I'll say. Unless you're at DEF CON, unless you're at, a big event like that, I think the likelihood of getting a pineapple attack on you is low. And I'll say this, if you really are worried about the pineapple, then what you need to do is something I will never do, which is periodically change your home Wi-Fi access point passwords.
Right. Yeah. I'm not necessarily worried about it at home, but yeah, just out in public, like I don't turn Wi-Fi on at all. I don't currently have a VPN service I'm using, so I never get onto public Wi-Fi. But yeah, I just thought I would, because that was something that I wasn't aware of, that feature, quote unquote feature, with the new Nexus devices. Yeah, I like the partition deal. They're actually also, for those of you who don't know this, they're not selling, or at least they may have, I think they phased it out with the 5X and the 6P, but they're not selling them through, I believe with this current generation, the upcoming generation, they're not going to be selling the phones through carriers. You're going to have to buy them through Google exclusively. And they'll come with either baked in or as an added service, kind of like what Apple's doing with the drop protection replacement type of deal. I know they did that on the 6P with the back camera glass plate. They had some sort of a good exchange program for that, because those are just cracking just from normal wear and tear being in my pocket, not even dropping it. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, because as it is, it's already kind of like an elite option that not a lot of people know about. But if it's becoming even more, I should say even less mainstream by becoming more obscure to get it straight from Google, then, I mean, is that really a good thing, or is it just, them, I guess, leveraging their online store to sell their specific product?
Right. And I mean, everything dies. We're on Ubuntu. Well, at least I am. Ubuntu 14.04 was a long-term support edition, which means it's long-term support, but you're going to lose support. Debian has really long support cycles, but you're going to lose support. Mac OS, you go buy a new crapbook Air today or whatever they're called, and eventually you're going to lose support. You go buy a Dell and HP of any level, of any grade, of any specification, you're going to lose support. You go buy a phone, whether it's a BlackBerry, a iPhone, an Android, it's going to lose support. You go buy a Blu-ray player, you're going to lose support. Anything you buy with a chip in it, sooner or later, you're going to lose support. To try to make a big deal out of Chromebooks losing support, to me, is like trying to warn you that you shouldn't buy a car because the tires are going to go bald. You know how dangerous that is? You know what? You know, if you're driving down the road and that tire blows out, you're going to die. I mean, I'm so happy I don't know her personally, because I would ring her out. I would harangue her. I would literally just tongue lash her. I don't care if I'm in a McDonald's with my kid and I see her and I know it's her. I would just let her have it for just spreading FUD. There's few things in this life that really get me incredibly upset, but spreading FUD purposefully, deliberately, is one of those things that just drives me absolutely nuts. There's real things to worry about in this world. There's really things to concern yourself about, like not vaccinating your kids. Yeah, I said it. But to worry about a Chromebook losing support and try to fear monger people based off of that just shows me a complete lack of imagination, if you will.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
But you know, one last article I just want to throw out there, line 75, Cody, on Linux.com. And the real reason I want to bring this up is because who's not on this list, and it is the top 10 developers and companies contributing to the Linux kernel in from the end of 2015, I believe it is, to 2016. Page down, page down, page down. There's more than a couple names, people I don't know if anyone's ever heard of, but the number of changes by the number 10 slot is 631. 631. So on average, almost 2 times a day, this guy submitted a patch. That is dedication, and I really hope he's getting paid for it. Then if you go down a little bit, there's the top 10 companies who are making contributions to the Linux kernel. And I believe I predicted this, Cody. Of course, I don't remember because my memory is always crystal clear in my favor.
Yeah.
Microsoft was the number 1 contributor to the Linux kernel at one point in time. That was when they were bringing hypervisor, which is their virtualization technology. They were trying to bring it up to par with everything else. And during the beginning of Azure, Mark Russinovich himself was helping Microsoft contribute code to Linux to ensure that Azure would work well with Linux. And I'm pretty sure I said, and once Microsoft gets what they want, they're done. And on the top, and they were literally, I believe, number 2 or 3 on that list like 2 years ago. And now they're not even in the top 10. So dare I say, to Microsoft, Linux is a rag. And once they don't find any more clean spots on the rag, they're just going to discard it, kind of thing. They're just going to use it. They're just going to use it as a tool to get out of it what they need. And then once they are done getting what they need, they just throw it in a corner, kind of thing. But again, I will say I'm not shocked. I now know of, I think, 3 people who have worked or do work at Intel. One of them at least being Ike Doherty. And so there's no shock when I see the number 1 company giving code to Linux is Intel. And to be honest, that makes me feel better about Intel as a company. even though I really like ARM processors and I want competition fiercely, I really do like seeing Intel give code to the Linux kernel, and not surprisingly whatsoever, which is actually one word, and I just realized that a couple years ago.
It totally
Whatsoever
is.
is a word. Red Hat's number 2. With the amount of stinking money that Red Hat has people throwing at it, they better be the number 2 contributor. And I say that almost offhandedly because there's no doubt they are. That's how they're successful. That's why they're successful. That's why they're stinking rich, is because they do give so much code back to projects. They're
That's
almost
just
not
improving your own recipe, through your own work.
exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's what this needs to be.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that this top 10 list is nearly chock full, all of them, of industry leaders, huge tech giants.
Yes.
But yeah, to see Microsoft, well, here's the thing, to see, and to your point, to see Microsoft fall off this list, one of two things has happened. Either they aren't doing as much as they were 2 or 3 years ago, or many more organizations are doing much more than they were 2 or 3 years ago, and thus bumping them off the list. And I'm hoping it's that rather than the prior.
That would be nice. Or Microsoft smudge their name because they're left-handed, and they smudge their name on the form, and so they might have credited all their code to either a company called None or a company called Unknown, because that's
true.
number
Yeah.
3 and 4, which I'm going to guess is actually like, dare I say, a government institution, whether it be Israel, UK, US, whatever, and just a big company that just wants to remain quiet and do its thing, like Amazon or Facebook, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, which is fine. But I mean, you're looking at Intel, 14,384 changes, number 1. Number 2, Red Hat, significantly less, 8,987. Now that's still a lot. It's 8% of the total changes during that time period. But and I mean, that's not to discredit their work whatsoever, but also, you have None, Unknown, Lenaro, Samsung, SUSE, IBM, consultants, and Renesas Electronics, which I'm not familiar with. So, yeah, overall, I mean, some big names that you would expect to be, that you would hope would be on this list, because the benefits that they are getting from open source software. I'm glad to see that they are giving back by contributing changes and making the overall community that much stronger.
Yeah, and I mean, I expect Intel to do more than Red Hat just because they're hardware based, so they would do driver support kind of thing. But to see SUSE on there really, honestly, like, warms the cockles of my heart, if you will, because SUSE is one of those companies. They're an RPM based distribution. Let me first say that before I say anything else. SUSE is one of those companies I always wanted to just succeed. I wanted to kick butt, because every time I loaded their distro, it felt good. It looked good. I like the menu structures. I like the applications. I love the look and feel of every SUSE or OpenSUSE distro I've ever installed. So to see them still around, still kicking, still, giving a lot of code back to the Linux kernel, literally makes me feel really good.
Yeah, I'm actually going to probably install OpenSUSE on my main rig again this week, maybe next week, but that'll be my primary OS that I'm using. Right now, I'm running Ubuntu 14.04 or Ubuntu GNOME 14.04 just on this laptop for some stability for podcasting. But yeah, I want to dip my toe back in, especially after talking with those guys at Linux First Northwest, being a fan of theirs over the years, having run OpenSUSE quite a few times. But now they have, of course, their quote unquote, stable / long-term release, and then they have their rolling release in the forms of Leap and Tumbleweed. So it'll be fun to experiment with the two of those for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Good stuff. And the best thing about SUSE, I gotta say, is you basically log in, you have everything powered up, You take a cable from a lot of printers, you plug it in, you turn the power on, you wait about 30 seconds, and your printer is installed and configured. You literally don't have to do anything.
Right. Yeah, I still need to try that at a corporate level, because we have these toner based cartridge printers, or not, excuse me, not cartridge, drum printers.
Like the big boys.
Yeah. But they have USB mode.
Oh,
and I could bring in a USB A to B cable, out from the laptop into that, and I could probably print documents off of it that way, instead of in a pinch having to run to FedEx Kinko's and order them by the hundreds or thousands, and then pay for special colored paper and importing fees for files and all that garbage. But yeah, we'll see. Definitely right. Something I should put into use.
Well, the big printers, I'll say, which are networkable, and I'm trying to remember like a couple of the names, like Xerox, but there's bigger names out there. When they're network printers, most of them are running a cup server, to where in SUSE, you just say, open a shared printer, scan the network, click, and you're done. So they do make those kind of printers easy as well, but not quite as easy as just, plugging it in and walking away.
Yeah. I'm sure I'm sure that whatever work I have to put into getting it up and running is going to save me a whole lot of time in the long run. So I'm more than happy to do it.
Very cool.
All right. Well, good group of projects there, Door, that we spoke about this week. Great to be sort of back into the regular swing of things. I'm going to take. We're going to try to do a show next week. If Door doesn't do a single one by himself, and/or you have another co-host, but I'll be off for a couple weeks because I'll be out of town in the middle of September. So just giving you guys a heads up on that. But it's fantastic to have these audio issues behind me and be doing more tweaking with some new equipment on off hours in order to make sure that we're putting out a better quality product for you, the listeners. So we already got some feedback on episode 200. Thank you for those of you who already sent in some feedback. Really appreciate the good words, kind words. Keep those coming. We'd love to hear from you guys, no matter what it is. Really, we'll love our correspondence from our listeners. Really do appreciate that. So keep that coming. Door, where can we find you online?
Okay, well, first, Cody, and not that I'm trying to inflate your stature anymore inside of your own head.
Well, here we go.
Nobody is going to replace you even for a couple of weeks, whatever, because A, won't feel right, and B, it would be unfair to that person. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
You can hit me up multiple places if you want to join our Mattermost private server, which we did have a couple people join, and the conversation is a little bit increasing, and there's honestly really good people on the server, really good nice people on that server. Think of it as a beautified IRC, and Charles is trying to help me when he has time available. He's trying to make the IRC bridge work on that server, so we'll actually connect to our free node hash Podnutz channel, and that will be like one of the rooms in the server. Hopefully we can get that working. Or you can just shoot me an email. You can directly hit me off at mail@podnutz.com, or hit me off on Twitter as either DoorToDoorGeek or as Podnutz, or on Google Plus. Just search for DoorToDoorGeek, all one word. That is DoorToDoorGeek. And if you can, please support the network. The easiest, most painless way is podnutz.com/Amazon. I am going to try to release a survey here in the next week or two, maybe, with honestly help from the community at large. And it cannot understate the assistance that Tracy Holtz is giving me for that poll. He's put in a lot of good ideas. And I am insisting to everybody out there, if you can, please provide feedback. The only way Podnutz can draw more people in, to be honest, is to listen to the people that already listen. So I will ask people, please provide me feedback when that becomes available.
Yes, please. We'd really appreciate those that correspondence and those responses from you to help with improvements on the network. Please do that. If you want to hit me up online, best place, you can just email me, Cody@podnutz.com. You can follow me on Twitter @Cody Cooper, or search for Cody Cooper on Google Plus. I'm there every single day. Check Twitter several times a week, and then check email every day too. So however you want to send me a message between those three, those are going to be the best. Appreciate your words there. Yeah, well, we're gonna continue with these shows, looking to bring a lot more good content out to those listeners. And as a reminder, if you happen to stumble upon this show or stumble upon one other Podnutz show and then on to us semi recently, check out podnutz.com. There are several other technology shows that are open format or more specific. The one that I would really recommend that you guys listen to if you're at all into tech, of course, is My Hard Drive Died with Scott Molden, also hosted by Jeff Howell. She hosts Podnutz Daily. Fantastic show. I learned so much every single episode I listened to. Scott Molden, for those of you who don't know, is basically the de facto expert in all things storage media.
Right. In the world.
In the world. We're not just saying like he's this guy that we know that has a lot of experience. No. He's literally an expert, gives talks all around the world. And I mean all around the world, has taught seminars, has been in the business for decades. And he graces us with his presence every few weeks and talks about his day-to-day and how the industry's changing. So just to be up to date on that, because there's so many little nuggets that I take from every show, and I've listened to every single episode multiple times. So definitely check that show out. That is definitely worth your time. Okay, well, in closing, thank you very much for continuing to listen to the show. We're looking to go quite a bit further in this. We're just starting, like I said, the third centennial here, so looking forward to that. But regardless of how long you have been listening or how long you plan on listening, please do not forget that Linux is not just for the rest of us, it is for all of us. Good night.
Okay, local recording done. Go hit my Audacity. Stop. Yeah, that one. Ooh, man. I had a crazy pee at least once. Once in a while, I go back and I look at the audio. I mean, I don't know. Every time before I do a post, I go look at the audio just in waveform. And I see once in a while, sometimes 3 or 4 times a show, I have a ridiculously hard pee.
Huh.
You know, and it like literally peaks the friggin' scale. And I don't know if it's this mic, which it can't be. What I'm mad about though is I have this piece of hardware.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That doesn't fit on my thing.
But you already have a pop filter and windscreen on the mic, so it shouldn't affect it.
Well, I know, but once in a while, my pee skyrockets the chart. You know what I mean?
Because yeah, for are we still live?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, because for those of you who aren't aware or who have never taken apart a microphone, if you take off the top or the head of the microphone, you have your wire mesh cage basically protecting the internals there. But in most cases, there you go. Yeah, see, in most cases, like I bet if he removed that right now, which he should be able to do, go ahead and you should be able to screw that right off. Just go ahead and open the door. Now inside the metal part, is there more foam?
Not much. I can see
there is foam.
There is some, but I can see light through it. Like not easily, but I can see light through it.
Yeah. So on the inside of that mesh chamber, see, now you're at the height of pop filter of the P mentality. But yeah, inside the mesh filter itself, there's already going to be some foam. So if you have foam there and foam on the outside, you should be good. But it's not going to hurt you to fix. Actually, when you have a second, hold up that filter that you have again, just to the camera. No. Go ahead and screw the deal back on there. Put the yeah, there you go. Go ahead and put your old one back on.
Right there.
Yeah, the other phone. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Right.
Hold it up towards horizontal, to where I'm not looking directly into the filter.
Like that?
Yeah. See, because you can extend that out. Yeah. Realistically, you could pull that rod off of there and just zip tie it to your stand. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
but what you also have to realize is the fact that that's a Heil mic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's using for those of you who are watching, he's using a Heil dynamic mic there. But notice how that pop filter does not cover the entire surface. So that's probably what you were experiencing. Just go on to shameless plug here, podnutz.com/Amazon, and purchase yourself a it's like less than $10, dude. Just get a extended pop filter that you can get one a little bit bigger that would be used for like a traditional condenser mic, and you'd slip it over that and it would cover that whole thing.
Well, but I can tell you, they don't make any for this mic. And the logic thing I read was because you're not supposed to use it with this mic.
Oh, well.
Which confused the crap out of me.
To hell, you need to take caution and throw it in the wind, though. And the very last thing you need to be doing is questioning
everything. And I should not just obey like
no, you don't need to think like me. You just need to think. But seriously, you have to also recognize that I have a lot of good ideas all the time.
I forgot I gotta save this file.
That's okay. I got some cleanup I gotta do. My dog and kids busted loose when my wife got home, so I'll clean up the audio and get it to you sometime, either later tonight or tomorrow.
Okay, I'm gonna cut the feed. I want to thank you, Foolish now, Foolish Brantley. Last thing I'm ever gonna do is call you out on a show. I am 99.99999% sure I've seen video where people take a Wi-Fi pineapple, go into a Starbucks, they fool people's phones to connect, or their laptops to connect to the Wi-Fi pineapple, give up their WPA2 creds, and then forward their connection onto the internet. I could have swore, because he's trying to say, or he said in the chat, basically, no, your device owns two parts of the key, your router owns the other two parts of the key, and the pineapple cannot emulate those other two parts of the key, so it will never completely connect. I could be wrong, apparently, but also, I gotta say, correct me if I'm wrong, but that initial connection will give up the WPA2 token to the Wi-Fi pineapple. So hypothetically, I'm at Starbucks, I get your creds, I then can go to your house and connect to your secure access point. I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot of times in my life.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you brought that back around, because I remembered why I was talking about it in the beginning. It's something I forgot to mention on the show too. And this is no secret sauce. Scott actually talked about this on an episode of My Hard Drive Died, but he does forensic analysis for, many different, legal organizations and even the government in some cases. But he actually uses Wi-Fi pineapples in-house to pull data and get connections to devices that are that are otherwise software lectures, so you can get them online to go in and look at accounts and credentials, which I thought was brilliant. And so it was like he was using it essentially for the same purpose, but just kind of from a different angle, which I thought was kind of cool. So yeah, I don't remember what episode that was. It was in the last five or six episodes though. So yeah, if you haven't checked out that show, definitely do it.
Right now, here's my really quick question, Cody, and to the people still listening on the chat. Do you guys ever you do a search query in Google on your mobile device, you do the query, and then the entire Google screen slides up, and then at the bottom third, you get a little thing saying, are these results good, kind of thing? Because I get these things randomly. Like I literally went to the Google support page about Chromebook. And when I went to the Google survey, to the Google page about the 5-year support cycle, I immediately had a little pop-up thing slide up out of the bottom and say, would you like to take a survey to help with our experiences? Every time I've mentioned these kinds of things to anybody at work, they swear my phone is compromised or my desktop is compromised. I'm like, dudes, I'm running Linux. My crap ain't compromised. And I also get the thing in Google. Basically, after I do a Google search, once in a while I get a thing that basically says, "Are you a virus?" kind of thing.
What?
What I'm typing is actually typing in code, looking for examples so I can do better stuff. And once in a while, what I type in resembles types of malware calls, if you will. And I literally get questions in Google asking me if I'm a virus, asking me to confirm sometimes. And once in a while, I get pictures where it's like, pick out the pictures that have popcorn in them, pick out the pictures that have street signs in them, pick out the pictures that have dice in them. You know what I mean? Like back to back to back to back.
Wow.
Google wanting me to confirm I'm not a robot, and I get these survey things because I right now am looking at the one that says Google Chrome for work and education help. Thank you for offering to take our brief survey. Blah 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 blah. Take the survey, and it goes to, of course, a Google link. Tell us about your help experience with Chrome for work and education, and I go through the questions.
Well, my initial question to you was going to be, well, until you start talking about that, the malware, verification deal. What was going to be is if you're getting extra requests from them, especially on how to make their products better, could that be because you're a YouTube Red user? Because you're subscribing to a premier service of theirs, therefore they value your opinion more. You know what I mean? Just from a marketing standpoint.
I've gotten these off and on for like 2 years.
Okay, then yeah, no, I've never seen one. I mean, I've seen, just. And here's the thing: if I go to a website now, like I'll go look at dumb articles here and there or whatever. But if I'm seeing that just obnoxious ad overlay the entire surface of the screen, or like that crap come up from the bottom or the sides of the screen, just like, well, I'm not going to this. Or especially if I'm clicking on an article, you read more and you go to the website and it's behind a paywall for a subscription. I'm just like, well, your organization is dead to me. Goodbye. But make a mental note.
Right.
Well, hey man, I gotta take off, go cook dinner. But it was great doing another show. Like I said, I'll get you that audio soon, and I'll talk to you either later tonight again or tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, I'm gonna kill the stream, guys. Thank you very much for coming out.